Taking steroids is cheating. Natural versus steroid bodybuilders by Middleground, Jubilee. Let's have a look. Let's watch.
My name is Eric Janicki. You guys might remember me from the Fit Men versus Fat Men episode, but today I am back as a moderator, and today's topic is natural versus steroids. Step forward if you agree. Steroids are dangerous and should not be normalized in fitness.
So for me, I am a natural bodybuilder, and I don't really like it when I see guys that take steroids and then they call themselves natural and they compete in the natural organization. So for that reason, I basically feel like they're cheating. So I don't really think that they should normalize it.
Steroids are dangerous and should not be normalized in fitness. And I 100% agree. As sad as it is kind of normalized. It's like the forbidden secret in fitness, but most people that you see on the pro stage, most people are blasting huge amount of, anabolic steroids. And it sadly is kind of normalized in the fitness industry. And there are ways you can tell, but honestly, the most reliable way of knowing if someone's natural or not is if they tell you.
I think steroid culture is ultimately what is corrupting the industry more than anything else. The first side of the question is addressing that it's dangerous. And there are many health risks that I feel as though they're not spoken about enough. And that is one of the biggest problems. And we can go down a list of cardiovascular issues, liver damage, skin and hair changing, heart problems, ultimately death if you go far enough down the rabbit hole. Just recently we had credible, highly respected bodybuilders in the industry drop dead.
It's kind of sus, bro. This guy is kind of sus. Most people would look at him and be like, there's no way this guy's nutty. But at the same time, it's hard because there are people who naturally are outliers. So I don't know. I want to believe this guy's nutty. I really want to believe this guy's natural. Even in shows like this, there's no way of knowing if someone's nutty or not. You just have to take them by their word. It's not like these guys are doing a test or anything to get in.
Realize why they developed steroids.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. It wasn't get jacked. In fact, in the 1980s,
sure, but
they were telling us that steroids don't cause muscle gain. That was the government's official message. So steroids, when taken in excess, like anything else, can be very dangerous, right?
That's the problem.
But the problem is, and this is probably something down the line, the problem is when the fitness industry takes something and they amplify it. I think that's what you guys are arguing. That the young fitness influencers who are promoting copious drug use to get to their goals, making millions of dollars on YouTube, it's gonna get a lot of kids to do it as well.
Here's the thing, just because something's dangerous, like abusing steroids dangerous, that doesn't mean we shouldn't normalize it. You guys are saying we shouldn't normalize steroids, it's bad, but you're also watching the Olympia. Those are the people that blast grams of gear. Things that are awesome, entertaining, are dangerous. UFC, dangerous. NFL, dangerous. You guys all watch the NFL. It's Sunday, you're probably pissed you missed the last game. Even though more people in the NFL are dying trying to get there, more kids are dying trying to get there than there are people that are the kids abusing steroids. So just because it's dangerous doesn't mean it's bad to put out on the world just because, we're humans. We want exciting, entertaining stuff. And nobody's denying that it's dangerous, but we can still enjoy how insane it is to look at a motherfucker like this. It's that's incredible.
Honestly, that is the only good point from the steroid camp, because that's a really good point. Even though I'm against, I don't think it should be normalized in the fitness industry. The fact that literally it's roid use, performance enhancement use in every sport, it's crazy, especially in the Olympics. You know how easy it is to pass a drug test in the Olympics? These guys at the top level are blasting gear. They're using all kinds of performance enhancing drugs and passing tests, and you don't know. We just like sport for what it is. We want to see humans perform at the top level, and for those humans to perform at the top level, they want to do whatever it takes. If they're training 100%, if they're eating 100%, why wouldn't they take something that gives them that extra 10%, 20% edge. If you are not okay with steroids in bodybuilding, then you should also not be for steroids in any sport, whether you know it or not.
Natural bodybuilding is the only honest form of bodybuilding. Agreeers, please step forward.
It's the only real, honest, authentic form of bodybuilding because you were going with nothing outside of what you could achieve by natural means. And when you involve steroids or any kind of enhancement drug, you are now stepping outside of what you could achieve naturally. It's not really much more that needs to be said. I think it's just that plain and simple.
All right, disagreeers, please step forward.
What is natural bodybuilding? You take a polygraph test, you have to be natural for 7 years. So we know from recent data that steroid use lasts. It makes you pretty much more awesome for life. So what is natural? So that means that all natural organizations, the WMBF, the OCB, all those things, they are not honest because all of them have this 7-year thing. There is no natural bodybuilding organization. And honestly, no one would watch it. There's a natural Mr. Olympia, nobody knows about it.
I think that's sadly the truth. I mean, Tiger Fitness has a good point. People do want to see freaks. People want to see the best of the best. And I don't even watch natural bodybuilding. When I want to watch bodybuilding, it's Mr. Olympia. I want to see Chris Bumstead on stage. It's these big freaks. And there is a part of me that goes, these guys they're lab animals. Like they're blasting all different kinds of juices. These guys are lab animals, but that's what makes it what it is. And I think that that's a really good point. People don't want to see natural. People want to see the best of the best. Like natural bodybuilding, it's not that exciting. Even though I want to compete in natural bodybuilding, it's more of a me thing. I don't want to, obviously I don't want to jump on juice. I don't want to do all of that. No one wants to see natural bodybuilding. And this comes from someone who loves natural bodybuilding. When you look at the top level, it's obviously untested because you want to see the peak of the human form. So yeah, this is a really good point.
The body positivity movement has gone too far. Would the agreeers please step forward?
Like, I'm all for confidence, someone being confident in themselves and the way they look and being happy with who they are and, what they got going on. But it gets to a point where, like, the unhealthiness shouldn't be something that you are proud of. I think that's really not the way we should go about getting the message out, because there's a difference between healthiness, what is considered healthy, what is considered fit, and what is unhealthy, what is unfit.
So what's the number one comorbidity? Obesity. We should not celebrate fatness. We should shun fat people. We should help them lose weight. We should tell them that is not good. To celebrate something that will inevitably lead to them dying, that is something we should not celebrate. We need to be helping these people lose weight by not glorifying being fat, by not glorifying being gluttonous, by not glorifying being lazy. Also, being fat makes you stupid. Your brain will not operate as well because your oxygenation to your brain will be lowered. There is nothing good from being overweight and fat. We should not glorify things that are going to kill people.
That's right.
I agree with this. We shouldn't glorify things that will kill you. And that includes taking steroids. I feel like if you take steroids, if you are juicing, you are, knowingly reducing years off of your life, you shouldn't tell, you should have no say when it comes to fat people. You shouldn't be like, oh, what you're doing is unhealthy, because that's double standards. What you're doing is unhealthy. If you're juicing, if you're taking steroids, you have no right to tell someone else that what they're doing is unhealthy, because what you're doing is also unhealthy, if that makes sense. I think Greg Doucette brought this point up a while back that the side effects of steroids is just as bad as the side effects of being overweight. I don't know how true that is, but I do agree that if you are juicing, then you can't really, this point makes no sense because you're still glorifying something that's going to kill you, which is steroids.
Oh, I got something here. I think you guys are so concerned about what other people are doing with their bodies. Like, your definition of happiness is not the same as theirs. Let them be happy being fat as shit. We could have a cocaine positive movement, because if you're happy ripping a ton of cocaine, even though it's not necessarily healthy, as long as they're happy, let them do it. Do what makes you happy, which is being fit and healthy, but it's not up to you.
Do you pay
to
taxes?
Say, I do pay taxes.
Do you know how much obesity contributes to our national debt a year?
I'm not so
Trillions of
concerned
dollars.
about the entire.
So you want to see people
America's
die.
such a great country. I'm gonna pay my taxes happy and not be "Rawr," feeding to fat people with my taxes, because there's so many layers to paying taxes that getting angry about it feeding the fat people is not something that I should be concerning myself with.
I really agree with that. People should just do what they're happy, what makes them happy, whether that's eating food or whatnot. And it's a really dumb point to bring up taxes, because there's so many different layers to paying taxes, and you can't just put everyone under the table. I mean, you take steroids. If something happens to you, that's still the taxpayers' money. Oh, everything that you go through, everything that that you need to get done, all the blood work and stuff. I'm sure a significant portion of that relies on taxpayers' money. I don't know how the healthcare system in America works. I know it's completely different, but I'm sure that you taking substances is still affecting the taxpayers with that same logic. And yeah, I agree that you should just do whatever you want. I think there should be things like, you can't advertise junk food. There are things the government should put in place. I think where I live right now in South Australia, we recently put a rule in place. You can't advertise junk food on public transport like buses and trains or trams. We're banning junk food advertisement, which is amazing. And I think that there should be more rules in place when it comes to that, because you can't, even when you watch TV, you can't even watch TV without getting like 1,000 ads for junk food. And I think that needs to change. There needs to be some proper government regulations put in place to curb obesity. And having a Macca's, having a Hungry Jack's on every street isn't helping. And these foods, these junk foods being way cheaper than healthier foods, I think that's a bigger problem as well. And it's not just because they are cheap, it's because they're subsidized by the government. The meat industry is subsidized by the government. There's a reason why these burgers are so cheap. If they didn't have these subsidies, a $2 burger would be costing you close to $15. And I think that people need to be informed about this. The junk food industry is only thriving because they're subsidized by the government. The meat industry is subsidized by the government. And I think those subsidies should be taken off and be put in place for foods that are actually healthy. Plant-based foods that won't kill people, foods that aren't bad for people. I think this is a good start.
Steroid use leads to unrealistic standards. Would the agreeers please step forward?
Yeah, and to
think
speak on
that's
kids,
rough.
it is a problem. I own a youth performance facility. All these kids expect to put on like 40 pounds in 2 months.
Right.
Then you have to bring them down to reality. Like, you're not going to do what these guys do because you're an athlete and you're going to be tested. And honestly, you don't need to take it. You're a teenager.
Right.
So the problem is they see these unrealistic people and they think they can get there. Then they get disappointed when they don't get those kind of gains. So it's one of those things, but it's always been there. I thought Arnold was natural when I was a kid.
Right,
Like
me too.
because
And
he'd say
regardless,
it. Yeah, I'm
regardless, the
natural.
gains are not across the board equal.
I thought all my favorite Bollywood stars, Hrithik Roshan, John Abraham, these guys that I looked up to growing up, I thought they were natural. And little did I know that this was bullshit. I thought everyone that I saw was natural. I thought that I could also look like that. And this was when I was 15, when I first joined the gym. And the more I worked out, the more I realized, damn, like, why don't I look like that? The more years that went by, it finally hit me. I don't know when it was, but I realized that these guys weren't natural. And no matter how hard I train, I'm not going to look like these guys. But before then, they were the standard. I wanted to look like that. And no matter how much I trained, and I'm sure they still say, people like John Abraham, they still say that they're natural, which is bullshit. They are not. And yeah, I think it does create an unrealistic standard for people, because I thought everyone was natural growing up. If you have to lie about being on steroids, just don't say anything. Don't say that you're natural. Don't say that you're on steroids. Don't say anything. Silence is always better than lying that you're natural. If you're not going to be honest about your steroid use, just don't lie about being natural. Just don't say anything. Don't say anything. I feel like that's a good. I know in some countries it's illegal, like you shouldn't be taking steroids, so people won't admit to it. But at least don't lie about being natural. Just don't say anything.
There is no such thing as too much muscle.
That clarified it. Yeah. So, physiologically attainable, yeah, I guess there is no such thing. I mean, but if you're looking at the overall health ramifications of it, yeah, there is such thing, because your body still has to pump to that. So from a physiologically attainable standpoint, like you trying to get as big as possible, yeah, keep trying to get bigger. You're not going to get too big. However, will that distort your look? Will that distort that beautiful waist of yours? Will that distort your size? So yeah, I guess we could say there's not too much muscle. There's no way to get too much muscle, physiologically speaking. But let's say they unlock a myostatin gene.
What you're seeing in the bodybuilding world slowly happen is classic physique, which is a bit less muscle than open. It's becoming more popular than open division. And I think that's a good thing. I think the less steroids that these competitors need to take, the better. These guys, they don't need to take, growth hormones. They don't need to take all these different, chemicals to look blown up. I think the less steroids, the better. So it's great to see things like classic physique becoming more popular. I want to see it take over open. I want to see people use less juice. And, where there's demand, where the eyes are, that's where people are going to go. So if classic physique becomes more popular, there will be a lot more people taking less drugs to get there. And I think that's a good thing. And like these guys are saying, there is such thing as too much muscle for your body. Your heart is also a muscle. So the more gear you take, the more steroids that you take, you're also making your heart bigger than it should be. And that's why a lot of these guys have heart issues. Your risk of cardiovascular disease, your risk of, heart disease, it shoots up when you take steroids because your heart is also a muscle and it can't grow to keep up with all the other muscles. So there is such thing as too much muscle. And I think it's beautiful that it's a good thing. It's a net positive that we're moving away from the open division into the classic physique. And I think a big reason why is Chris Bumstead. This guy's single-handedly changed the bodybuilding game. And I know so many people who know who he is, who know nothing else about bodybuilding. And I think that's a great thing.
Okay, we're gonna do something a little different, a little fun now. You guys are gonna come forward and write on this piece of paper who you think has the best physique here, and you can put your own name as well. So please come on up and write down who you think has the best physique in the room.
Oh, damn, one of the natty dudes is gonna win. This is gonna make us look bad, bro. This is...
You're about to get crushed.
You want to sit next to him?
So I've been putting so much weight on my feet.
You can get crushed.
All right, so just got curiosity. Who do you guys think won? If you had to guess.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Josh. So I voted for.
Josh was in fact the winner. So I just love to hear your guys' thoughts on. Obviously, coming from the natural side, you might be probably surprised coming from a group of both natural and enhanced guys that the natural athlete was actually the most preferred physique. What do you guys think about that? Is there any thoughts or?
I think it's because he's natural.
That is the funniest shit that I've seen. This guy's not natty. Of course this freak isn't natty.
Well,
I think it's very different. Like you were saying with contest prep and stuff like now, I've seen you look absolutely crazy. I've seen your videos I'm like, what the f? So I don't necessarily know if you you know what I mean? You guys will have to be side by side, stage lean, whatever.
yeah, if you're on stage,
Yeah.
I'm an IFBB pro. I'd love to see that.
Right,
That'd be great.
He's
And I'm
IFBB
also
pro,
on
so
stage
who's to
at
say who's
220
better?
pounds or 212 in the 212s, so I'm gonna look bigger. You can't. So I voted for him over me. I could have voted for myself.
I'm surprised Greg Doucette wasn't on this. He would have had some words to say, but I think that natural bodybuilding is not the future. As much as I'm against steroids, and I tell everyone this, steroids, it's literally the biggest mistake you'll make, especially if you're under 25, under 30 even. I see so many people my age, around their 20s, mid-20s, use and abuse steroids, and it's so sad to see because they don't realize their future, how it's going to be affected, that it's a lifelong thing, because once you're on it, you're on it for life. I've never taken it. I don't think I'll ever take it. And yeah, apart from hormone therapy, maybe when I'm really old, but taking steroids for the sake of taking steroids, it's a death sentence, especially at this age. I don't want to lose my hair, you know. I don't want to deal with the side effects. I don't want to deal with the side effects of the side effects medication. There's so many things that it's just a giant headache, and in my opinion, it's not worth it. And I tell everyone not to take steroids. I'm against steroids. It's not like, you know, it's your body, your choice. No, I think if you take steroids, you're dumb. And if you're competing, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, I guess it is still kind of dumb, but I don't know. That's the thing, right? Like, you can't really put that double standard. Like, if you take steroids because you're competing, then it's okay. But if you're not, then it's not. I don't want to put that out there. I think if you take steroids in general, it's a very stupid decision. But I just hope that you're well informed, you're not young, and you're not abusing steroids.